What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 51 of the Steam Deck podcast, Flip Screen Games weekly podcast, all about Valve's portable PC powerhouse, the Steam Deck. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined again by my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
It's Max's intro again. I messed myself up.
I couldn't believe that it wasn't like joined as always.
I know.
And
I'm sorry.
honestly, I'd forgotten that we changed it from Valve's hot new handheld, so I was a bit taken aback by
It's all-
that. But
it's
that
all
was
messed
like
up for
2
you.
months. That was like 2 months ago, so I don't know why my brain expunged it from its memory. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. It's funny though, because like I don't think it's actually been that long since you and I did one of these. I feel like it's been like a few weeks, but
It's like 2 weeks. It's like the week before last.
but before that 2 weeks, it had been a really long time as well. So like when I sat down today, I was like, oh, it feels good to be back. Like we're back in the groove. But it's like I only missed one episode, But whatever, we're back, buddy. It's you
Yeah.
and me, the dynamic duo.
Where were you anyway? Like, we missed you. Tell everyone what you're up to. People
Yeah.
need to know.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks for me. The last 2 full weeks, I was in the studio with my band, Long Friend Time Friend. If you want to go check us out, we're if you like punk bands, punk music, we're out there. We're making good stuff. Go check us out. And we wrapped all the work on our second full length album in 2 weeks, which was awesome. There was like a very slight break. I think we had 4 days off in between. But it was about 2 weeks. And then literally, so we wrap on Friday, and then the Saturday after we wrap, I went to Play NYC, which is a indie focused event that we got invited to cover out in New York City. And we have a whole conversation about it over on the Flip Screen Games podcast. If you want to go check that out, you can hear about some of the games that I went and played, and it was a really great time. Bunch of them coming to Steam Deck too. Very cool. So a couple people like touting the fact that they were putting their game out on Steam Deck, which was very cool to see.
That's really good. Yeah, I like that, and I can imagine a lot of indie developers are just like using it as like a kind of a dev kit in the same way that they would use like a Switch as a dev kit.
Yeah.
They can just test it on that, and it's got everything they need out of the box.
I straight up recommended to one of the indies that I was chatting with. I was like, "Are you targeting Steam Deck?" And he was like, "Well, it can run on Steam Deck. Like, I know I don't have one, but I know the specs, and like it should work no problem." And I was like, "Hey, man, like if you want my unsolicited advice, make a Steam Deck version. Like, advertise it as a Steam Deck game. Like, the Steam Deck audience is hungry for stuff, So like putting a good game out that's deck verified, like it gets attention. It's gonna end up on the verified page and all that good stuff. Like, you wanna be
Which granted, we found out on last week's episode the verified means absolutely nothing really, and it is just a very limited amount of spec, but it gets you front and center.
That's I think the thing is what it does mean is free marketing for your game.
Yes.
And
which is good.
When you're an indie dev who's just trying to cut through the noise, right? And like you don't have a previous game to hang your hat on, you don't have, a huge marketing budget, like that matters. So like if you've got a good game that runs well on deck and you can get it in front of an audience that is hungry for stuff to play on the hardware, like I think that's definitely something you want to do. So yeah, I had a couple fun conversations about the Steam Deck this past weekend. So shout out to Playcrafting, the folks that throw NYC Play NYC, and thanks for having me out. If you want to go hear that whole conversation, go check it out for sure. But I am happy to be back. It's been a really fun 2 weeks. It was all good stuff, but I am exhausted. I am so absolutely drained. I've had no energy this week. But I am glad to be back in the saddle and here recording the shows like normal with you again. So, and we got some good stuff to talk about here today, right? We've got news that Valve is now selling their own refurbished Steam Decks, right? Rip GameStop on that one. And a couple other pretty interesting tidbits, right? We've got a modder who found a way to boost the deck to 32 gigabytes of RAM from the standard 16. We got some conversation about Baldur's Gate and Overwatch 2. We got a lot, and the question block is full. I don't even know if we're going to get to all this today, Steve, so we better jump right into it.
Yeah, well, it's the perfect time for that developer that you met Play with NYC to hop on and get that Steam Deck, right? Because these decks
I told him about the GameStop one. I was like, but you get a refurbished one. They're cheap.
I personally wouldn't touch the GameStop one with the barge pole. We'll get to that and the reasons why in a little bit. But The Valve ones are certified refurbished by Valve. They've gone through apparently 100 tests at Valve's facilities. They test the controller input, audio system, screen, internal and battery health. And they say that all refurbished units meet or exceed performance standards of retail units, but they may have minor cosmetic blemishes. They come with the exact same warranty as a new Steam Deck. And I think that's really key.
That's sick.
Um, and they start at a really, really good price, 319 for the 64 gig, which is 279 in the UK, 419 for the 256 gig, which is 369 in the UK, and 519 for the 512, which is 459 for the 512 in the UK. Really good price points, like under £300 in the UK for a Steam Deck. It puts it on par with the launch price of the Switch
Yeah,
back in
320 in the States is, like, right there too, right? Like, it's a
yeah.
little bit more, but, like, whatever, cool.
Really, really good price. And I think the warranty is the big thing because when we spoke about the GameStop warranty, it came with like a 1 or 2 month warranty on it, and that was it. And it's refurbished by GameStop, not by Valve. It's not certified by them. So I think it's a no-brainer for me. There's a couple of other things as well. Like you have to have a GameStop Pro membership, which costs you $25 a year if you even want to buy one from GameStop, and they cost a little bit more. Like they're a little bit more expensive on some of the models. Like the 256 gig is 429, which is the one most people get. So it's $10 more plus the
It's
$25.
It's interesting that specifically that one is a different price. The other ones are basically the same, at
Yeah,
least in the States, right? Like 64 gig is 319.99. The 512 is 518.99. So like it's right there, right? Except this one, which is $10 cheaper for whatever reason.
my guess is they'll probably change that to match Valve's pricing at some point. But you still need the Pro membership. You still get the inferior warranty. You can't go back to Valve if you have any problems, like you could if you bought it directly from them. For me, if you're gonna get one of these, and I genuinely considered like, oh, do I want a 64 gig one and I can mod the hell out of it, for 279? Like that's
I
such a
know.
good
I was
price
thinking
point.
about
I'm
it.
like, oh god,
It's like that's
yeah.
not bad.
Yeah, really good price point that you can do everything that you want to it. It's your device. You can swap that 64 gig drive out for a 1 terabyte drive if you want. I think that's why the 64 gig models sold out so quickly because they are so cheap.
Yeah, I was
The
gonna
other
say
two
worth.
models are in stock, but at least in the UK, the 64 was out of
It's
stock.
No, it's in America as well. Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
64 gigabyte is already sold out, and, like, this as of recording, they announced this, what, like, 2 days ago? 3 days ago,
Yeah,
maybe? Yeah,
2
2
days
days.
ago.
Um, Nuts.
And
And that you
people are getting them already as well within that 2-day
Yeah.
period. Like
Yeah, yeah.
these are on hand, ready for Valve to ship to you.
Yeah, you posted there was a post on this, our Steam Deck subreddit that, they ordered it 2 days ago. I guess when this was revealed, and 8 hours ago on Reddit, they posted that they've already got it, and they said they have not found any significant flaws, scratches, or etcetera. Seems to be a great deal.
Yeah, this one was ordered by someone in the Netherlands, which is where their EU shipping center is.
Mhm.
So I imagine they're pretty close to it. If you order
Still,
it in the UK, apparently it's about a week wait, which is the exact same if you buy a brand new one.
to be fair, it does say they were quoted that it would take 1 to 2 weeks, and they got it in 2 days. So, and I'm like, proximity to the shipping location does make a big difference, but, like, still, like, that's a really quick
It's
turnaround.
insane. It's really,
Yeah.
really good. And the case looks brand new. The Steam Deck looks brand new. They said
Mhm.
there was no blemishes on it. I'd imagine a ton of these are just returns. Like people bought
Well,
them, they
yeah.
played them for a little bit and were just like returned it within the window.
That, or the other thing that might happen is, this is something I saw posited on, the GameStop subreddit, actually, because somebody was posting about how they had bought a Steam Deck, one of the refurbished Steam Deck models, and that it was, like, really it looked great, it looked like it was brand new. They had, put it through its paces, and everything was checking out, and, like, it seems like it's a good deal. And one of the top commenters was a manager from a GameStop, and they were like, "I'm like convinced that everything we sell is refurbished, just had a damaged box." Like that could easily be a thing where people's Steam Decks are showing up, and maybe there is like a problem with the case, or it got wet, or it sat, or whatever happened, right? And they were like, "Well, screw that, send me another one." You know, that happens. right? And like if it was a mistake that Valve covers, like a lot of people have the mentality of, well, why wouldn't I send it back and get one that's not messed up, right? But I could see like if you got one with a case that had like a busted zipper or something like that, like who knows, right? Like it could be a ton of things that
Yeah.
would have Valve be like, you have to send the unit back and we'll send you a new one, no problem. And then they get it, and it's a very simple fix or whatever, and you have what is essentially a new unit, right? That no one's ever touched, and it had a minor flaw that, or like maybe it did get dinged up or something like that. They replace the screen, right? They switch a joystick, they switch a sticky button, and then it's like, hey, it's brand new.
Yeah, I would imagine it's like the lottery, right? Like they say that minor cosmetic defects are blemishes or scratches on the plastic casing and not the screen from normal handling of the unit.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen over time anyway. I've
So
got
it's
a
like, who
slight
cares?
scratch on the front of mine, you know. People who wear jewelry, they probably like dinged it up, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter.
I wouldn't be
Um,
surprised if mine has a scratch on the back from my wedding ring now, and like I just don't even
yeah,
think
most
to think about
likely,
it,
yeah.
right? Like
But the
I gotta
plastic's
tell you, it
pretty
looks pretty
resilient
pristine, Steve.
anyway.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah, the plastic's pretty resilient. The only time I ever managed to scratch mine was when I accidentally got a bit of metal and like it scraped it, but it's
Yeah.
so minor. It's like a surface scuff. It really doesn't matter. But they say that these units are selected from customers' returns that pass rigorous criteria, and stock is limited and may fluctuate over time. So I imagine it's what you said. People are just sending them back. There might be a problem with the box. There might be something minor, probably within a specific return window that they've
Right.
come back rather than if we're sending it back for a repair.
Yeah.
Because when I sent mine in for repair, I got mine back. But what's interesting is in the UK, there are more refurbished units in stock than there uh, are new units. You can't buy a 64
Really?
gig or a 512 gigabyte Steam Deck brand new in the UK.
Wow. I mean, you gotta imagine that's probably the onus behind this program then, right?
That and I do think the GameStop stuff forced their hand. They specifically call it out on the FAQ,
No, they
that they
don't.
say
Really?
yeah,
I
they
didn't
do.
see
They
that.
say,
That's so
"Are
great.
these" they say, "Are these the same refurbished Steam Deck units GameStop is selling?" And they say, "No, GameStop refurbished Steam Decks have been refurbished in their own facilities and come with a different warranty provided by GameStop." So, that's definitely confirmation that I would in no way touch the GameStop ones and would go for the Valve ones if the option was there. Unless you've got, like, GameStop credit. I guess that's the real kind of main reason you would get a GameStop one is you're trading something in, right?
Yeah, and, like, I could easily see that, right? Or if you're somebody like I mentioned earlier this year, like, I got GameStop, cards, as part of, like, a rewards program from, like, my bank, like, so it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, right? Like, if you got them, whatever, sure, like, I could totally see that, especially if you're buying it with the intention of gutting it and modding it like we talked about, then fair play, right? No big deal. But, yeah, I mean, otherwise, I can't see why you would go that route alternatively, unless, yeah, you have some savings, through GameStop for whatever reason. Because otherwise, you're literally, like you said, you're just paying the same amount or a little bit more for a lesser warranty.
Yeah, for a lesser warranty and I know it's gonna be lesser customer a worse customer experience if you
Yeah,
try and get
has to
customer
be.
service. Valve's customer service is phenomenal. Like, anytime I've ever had a problem, I message them and they sort it out almost immediately. I we don't have GameStop in the UK, but I've heard some pretty bad horror stories, and I'm sure everyone's got a horror story
They're
about
they're
GameStop.
yeah, their refurbished units are notorious for being, as you said earlier, a bit of like a Russian roulette situation, right? Like when my Xbox 360 got the red ring of death, I think I bought two different refurbished units before I finally just bought the Elite or whatever. Not the Elite, the second one that they did that was like,
The
this is,
glossy black plastic,
yeah, and it was
horrible,
like, this
yeah,
one doesn't
yeah,
get the red ring. And it's like, okay,
yeah.
whatever, fine, I'll buy it. Because at that point I'm in, right? Like, what am I gonna do? So
What my dad did was buy a PS3. That was his solution because he got sick of these things keeping breaking. We had like 2 or 3 Xboxes Red Ring, and he's like, "I'm
yeah.
sick of this shit now,"
It's
and
tough
got
though,
a
right? Because
PlayStation
like
3.
at that point I had a library. And it's like, what am
Yeah.
I gonna do? Like, just not play any of the games I've spent this whole generation buying? Like,
I mean, to be fair, at that point, we switched over and we're like, "Oh, now we can play all the PS3 exclusives we didn't play, so we can play through all the
totally
Uncharted
good
collection."
strategy.
It's like,
Yeah.
now we can play The Last of Us. That was pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. So I want to pull in a two questions, but we're gonna get in this first one first. From the Baconator over on our Discord, who wrote in and said, "Which is the best option when you buy a Steam Deck? Buying new from Steam, buying refurbished for cheaper, or buying off someone else for even cheaper than refurbished, or even waiting to buy a new one on a sale?"
It's a tough one. I think it depends on you as a person. Do you care that someone else has touched this device and it might have a couple of blemishes on it and you want it to be perfect and pristine? If so, new is your best option. You can wait around for a sale. Valve publicly post all of their dates for their sales. We've got another one coming up in fall. I would imagine the Steam Deck's probably going to be discounted around that time for Black Friday. So you might want to wait for a new one then. But I would probably go for a refurbished one. If I was buying a Steam Deck today, I would be happy to go and buy one of the refurbished models. I don't think it would bother me whatsoever. And if it does have minor scuffs, you can always go get one of those like six skins from D brand, or like it's an excuse to replace the shell and the housing on it. Or if you're planning on modding it or doing any of that stuff anyway, then why would you not save yourself a hundred quid?
Yeah,
Like, it makes no sense.
couldn't agree more. um,
Absolutely would never buy from a third party though. Like someone from Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or Craigslist is a no-go. Not
so
happening. I've
I
been burned so many times through those services.
I think my willingness to engage with something like that is based on the quality of the deal, is what I would say, right? If you can get a really good deal, like if you find somebody who's selling it for a lot less than the refurbished unit that you would be buying, and you're comfortable taking that risk, like I think that's reasonable, like knock on wood. I don't know anybody aside from you that's had to send their Steam Deck in for any, you know, issues like that, right? I've generally been lucky when it comes to buying
And
consoles.
I think mine was because it was literally one of the first units out of the factory. You know, it
Mhm,
was
right,
like very, very early in the process. So
totally. So, like, when you think of that, right, it's like the build quality of these things is pretty good. So, I don't know that you should, like, assume that something's gonna go wrong with it, but also, you gotta if you need that peace of mind, then, maybe you spend a little bit more, but the thing I would argue is that, like, a one-year warranty is not that much anyway. Like, I've already like, I'm either past it or I'm coming up on it, I forget exactly where the line is, but, like, my warranty is out sooner than later. Like, I'm gonna own this thing a lot longer than the 1-year warranty, right? So, the idea that if you get a really good deal and you can snap one up on, Facebook Marketplace, or, you can get, a good trade or something like that, then yeah, like, think about it.
also depends where you are, because most of the world gets a 1-year warranty. Anyone in the EU gets a 2-year warranty because that's the law there, that
And
they
in
have to
that
have a 2-year
scenario,
warranty.
I'd say buy it, right? 2 years is a lot longer, right? Like, double the warranty time, that's pretty legit,
Yeah, and you get that on both the new one and the Valve refurbished one,
right?
so I don't think it really matters if you get a refurbished, because you know if there's any problems with it, you just send it back and they'll fix it.
No, honestly, I think and I mean this, not making fun of you at all if you are this person, right? This is a totally legitimate way to feel. Unless you are a little bit like, you know, um, sensitive about that kind of thing, like you said, where you're like, I don't want there to be a single scratch on this thing. I want it to be perfect and pristine, and I want that experience of,
And I've been there. Everyone likes peeling the plastic off the screen and doing
yeah,
all that stuff.
totally. That's a totally fair point of view. But I think unless you're that type of person where, like, the fact that it is not that way is gonna, like, really bother you, then I would say absolutely buy refurbished. Yeah, no question. 'Cause Val, like you said, Valve's customer service is great. If they send it to you and it's busted, you're gonna get it back in, like, a week or 2. Save the money. But, again, if you've waited this long, that Steam Summer Sale discount was pretty legit.
Yeah, and I would imagine Black Friday is probably gonna be very similar. I would imagine the Christmas sale is gonna be pretty similar as well. We're probably gonna have the same thing going on.
You probably,
But it
like,
depends if they're in stock as well. Like, stock
yeah.
levels on these things, they still can't keep them in stock. They're still fluctuating. If refurbished isn't an option because they ran out of those, you might wanna go with new. I don't think I would go for a GameStop one, and I don't think I would go for one of the the like third party sellers on like Facebook or something.
Unless you're a modder,
Yeah.
then whatever. Okay, and then the other question Baconator had before we move on to our next story is also if Valve upgraded the Steam Deck not enough for a Steam Deck 2, kind of like a PS4 Pro rather than a PS5, but with Steam Deck, would you buy it or would you wait for the 2?
I think this is the more likely scenario that's going to happen, but I think it's probably going to be more like a Steam Deck Lite, where it's the screen doesn't have such chunky bezels. It's maybe a little bit nicer, but it weighs less. It's a little bit tinier. It's a little bit tidier. And
Slim.
probably the biggest thing is going to be battery life. I don't think you're going to get any more performance out of it. I think if they do anything, they're going to improve the battery life. Developers are already working towards getting their games working on the Steam Deck's like configuration and system setup. To add another kind of configuration into the mix, I think would be a mistake unless it's a true successor. I don't think we necessarily need a pro unless there's like a kind of a power boost mode where you can sacrifice the battery to kind of overclock the GPU or the CPU within the UI rather than having to go into the BIOS. At the moment, you have to kind of like sort of reflash it and undervolt it and overclock it that way. If you could do something like that in the UI with like a boost mode, then that would be really good.
Would you buy it
No, probably not. I think I would probably wait for a true successor.
though? I'm glad you broke it down that way. It was a good answer, but it's so funny to me that you walk through the entire explanation of what your vision for the product is, and then you're like, "I wouldn't go with though. No thanks."
No, I wouldn't. Would you? Would you like buy another one knowing that like in 2 years it's probably redundant and you can get some out? I think if I was going to do it, I'd go buy like an Iron Neo or an ROG Ally and have like a Windows handheld that complements the Steam Deck.
I don't know. I think it would depend a lot on what you're talking about because it's like bring up the PlayStation 4 Pro comparison, right? From Baconator's question. That console came out in what 2018, right?
The what came
The
out in
PS4
2018?
Pro, or was it
Oh
17?
no, I think it was sooner than that. Yeah, I think it was 2017. It may have even been
Right.
2016, wasn't it? Before the Switch.
Was it? I don't think that's right,
Yeah.
but look it up for me. Because I'm thinking about that, right? I bought the PS4 Pro as part of the Spider-Man bundle, so I got it in
Yeah,
2018.
2016, November 10th,
Oh
2016. It came
shit,
out 3 years into the life cycle,
that's wild.
which is why we think we're getting the PS5 model this
Yeah,
year because
yeah,
it's 3 years into the life cycle.
maybe. I feel like it's
I
a,
mean, there was a leaked picture that came out today, so it's definitely happening.
but like it is happening. We know that there's going to be a
Yeah,
different model, but like my question
it's
is
not a
that
Pro.
is that a
No,
pro or is it a slim? I think it's a
it's
slim,
a
not a
slim.
it's not
Yeah,
a
it's a
pro,
slim.
which is a different thing. It's fine. We don't need to get into that. I think when you look at that example, if it was like a similar timeline, then maybe, right? Like if Valve came out and was like, "Hey, this is the we'll use Pro and 2 just to be consistent," right? They came out and said, "This is the Steam Deck Pro. It is essentially the Steam Deck 1.5. We are actively in development of a Steam Deck 2, and we imagine it's going to come out in like another 4 years or another 3 years or whatever." And it was a significant enough update for me to think like, "Hey, like this has a way better battery life, or it has, the ability to play a game like, something like Persona at 60 FPS, like I was playing, and it is optimized better. So not only is the battery life longer, it takes less battery to play at a higher capacity. Like, if it had enough little things where it was like, you're going to get a lot more usage time out of this thing. You're going to get a much better day-to-day experience with this thing because or like it has quick resume that works like as well as on Xbox or whatever, right? If it brought in features like that where it was like, yeah, it's not a 2, it's not a proper successor, but it has meaningfully upped the ante and it's not crazy expensive, I'd think about it. I grabbed the Switch OLED, I picked up the PS4 Pro. I was never one of those half gen refresh people, but now that I'm a little older and I have the expendable income and I spend as much time as I do playing games, like quality of life does make a big difference to me. So, you know, I wouldn't I wouldn't be rushing to grab it day one, but I definitely think about it, you know?
Yeah, it depends. It's got to be a meaningful enough upgrade for me, and I really don't think that they're ready to chuck another chip in there and say, you're getting crazy amounts of
No.
power. It would probably be a redesigned unit with maybe an OLED screen, and I think an OLED screen
And,
maybe
like,
might be
that's
enough to get me to jump.
that's a great example of something I would shell out for if it was like, "Hey, it's the exact same guts, better battery life, OLED screen." I'd be like, "Yeah, cool, I'll sell my Steam Deck and get a new one."
Yeah, no one buy from him because it doesn't come with a warranty. But yeah, he's gonna sell a Steam Deck.
Crazy Pete's discount. No, wait, what
Now
was it?
these
Crazy
things are
Steve's
not gonna
discount
hold.
imports, remember?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not gonna hold value though, because with all these refurbs, with all the warranties, like, they're not gonna hold the value as much as
No.
I thought they would've.
Yeah, which, I mean,
I don't
I
care about
I don't
because
care, I
I
don't
don't plan
sell
on getting rid of mine anytime
yeah, I
soon
don't
now.
sell consoles, like, for a profit like that, so
Oh, I sold my PS4 as soon as I got my PS5. I'm like, "I'm done with this. This can
sure.
go."
See, like,
Yeah.
I didn't, right? Because like, my Pro, I have behind me just because it looks cool, like, it's a cool piece of Spider-Man memorabilia, so I'm keeping that, obviously. My base PS4 is in my bandmate's house because his roommate, who was, like, the one who had the console that was their communal PS4, he moved out, and then he's like, "I don't have anything to play Ghost of Tsushima on anymore," and I was like, "Here you go, buddy. You take mine." Like, you know? It's like it's he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll give it back to you when I'll get my own
Like, I
eventually."
don't want it, it's
And it's
fine.
like, "That's
Yeah,
fine, dude. Don't worry about it." Like,
yeah.
game on, bud. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I still have my launch Switch. Like, I was offering to give it to a friend recently because his was busted, and I was like, "You gotta be playing Tears of the Kingdom. Here, take it, take it." And he's like, "Oh, I'll buy a new one. I don't wanna take yours." It's like, "I don't care. Take it. I got
It's like,
3 in
"Yeah,
the house."
those Joy-Cons are wonky, I don't want that. Link's gonna be going
I
off
told him that. I
somewhere
was like, "You might have to go
random."
buy a new set of Joy-Cons," you know, but
Yeah.
it's alright. Anyway, so while we're talking upgraded Steam Decks here, you brought an interesting story to my attention here. This one comes from Tom's Hardware. They did a write up about a modder who found a way to boost the internal RAM of the Steam Deck up to 32 gigabytes, right? Which doubling the base 16 gigabytes that we're used to over there. Break it down for
Yeah,
us, please.
so this modder, which we you may recognize the name, and I'm gonna try and attempt to say the name. My friend Nat, who is Hungarian, told me how to say the name, and it's Balázs Triska, I
Alas,
believe.
Chiska.
And so they modded the Steam Deck, and the way they did it was they desoldered the 16 gigabyte chips of RAM, and they reballed 2 other chips of RAM, totaling 32 gigabytes, and they soldered it back on the board, and then they flashed the BIOS. So this is not for the faint of heart. This is a very like in-depth mod that requires very specialist hardware that costs thousands and thousands of
I don't
dollars.
I don't even understand all the words that you just said, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm right there where, like, you had to desolder okay, cool, and then he
So
reballed the RAM.
you
I'm
know
like,
how
"What does
chips are
that
like
mean? What is
oh,
reballing RAM?"
have you ever seen the bottom of so this they're surface mounted chips. Have you ever seen the bottom of a surface mounted chip and they're like basically a load of gold dots,
Yeah.
and those gold dots connect to gold dots on the board.
Yeah.
So you ball solder and you sort of inject it over those dots, and then you surface mount and you put it on top. So the solder make little balls and they sit into the divots on the chip, and then it connects to the dots on the PCB,
What the
and that is how you surface mount it.
that's wizard shit. That's wizardry. That's really
They're do-
crazy.
yeah, it's done by machines. So it's not something that anyone's going to be doing, and I would imagine if this is ever going to happen, it'll be someone sells these motherboards
I'm
pre-modded for
D
you.
do you remember, like, back in the day, there was, like, that one website that sold the modding setup for putting a capture card on a 3DS, and, like, if you were somebody who knew how to do, like, crazy shit, you could buy one and do it yourself, but otherwise, you could just, like, mail it to the guy that made the mod, and he would install it and then mail your 3DS back. Like, I'm imagining, I'm sorry, how did you it was Balas?
Yeah,
Balas?
Balosh.
Balash. I'm imagining him opening up shop for this. It's like, "Yeah, just Just mail me your Steam Deck. I'll slap this puppy on and send it right back to you. Like that would be that would be crazy, but like you could do it, I guess, right? Like it's not
Yeah, I
unheard
mean,
of.
the last time Balosh made headlines was they were one of the first people to get the Deck HD screens,
Yeah,
and so they showed the Deck HD screen running at a different frame rate, and you could see like the 1200p display in action. They showed a little bit of footage over on their Twitter account back in the time. That was back in May. And that mod recently came out that also requires a BIOS flash. They're gonna have to reflash the BIOS in order for it to be supported. So if this
that
mod's
scares me.
underway, that really scares me, and it's enough to put me off ever doing that mod. I do not trust flashing the BIOS
So you gotta buy
on the Steam
you
Deck.
gotta buy
Yeah,
the refurbished 64 gigabyte unit, you know?
yeah, it's not gonna happen. I'm not flashing a BIOS that I have no idea what the source code is onto a device. That could be doing anything. You have no idea
Mm,
what's doing under the hood. Um, but you need to do the exact same thing because the Steam Deck thinks it's got 16 gigabytes installed. You need to tell it it has 32 gigs installed. It'd be cool if we see these modified boards make it out and we get people can have these kind of jumped up Steam Decks with 32 gigs of RAM on them. I don't really know what the meaningful difference is going to be, but it does mean that you can boost your video RAM probably
yeah.
up to 32 gigs if you wanted to, which would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be nice, you know? Like, I could see the application of it for sure. It's neat
Yeah,
that
I
somebody figured
mean,
out how to do it anyway, too, right? Like, it's one of those, like, this is just a cool flex, if I'm honest.
oh yeah, it's a massive, absolutely massive flex, and this is some Steam Deck at this point. Like, it's got the 1200p Deck HD display on it. It's got 32 gigs of RAM in it. Probably got a 1 or 2 terabyte drive in there as well. It's like it's ridiculous.
What a beast.
Yeah,
You think
but
this
really
guy
cool.
finds any time to play video games on the thing, or is it just it's always, like, up on the risers, you know? Like,
It's always open.
he's
Maybe he's
always
got
cracking
two.
open the hood and
Yeah,
putting some more
yeah.
shit inside.
It's like car guys, right? You know,
Yeah, right.
they're just always
Exactly.
working on it.
Yeah. He's got it up on the lift, he's taking the wheels off, you know, rotating the joysticks. All right, so we got some more Steam Deck talk ahead, but before that, let me remind you that this episode of the Steam Deck podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of August. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Earth Visitor, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Sobi, Snackago, Tyler Dude, and Wakahula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. You're all the reals to the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. If you guys want to go and become a supporter of the show, or you want to get the show early, or you just want to get in touch right in for the question block like a bunch of people did this week, you can head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website where you will find links to all the places we are all over the web. You can come join our Discord, keep the conversation rolling between episodes, hit us up, questions at flipscreen.games. If you want to get your thoughts right on the air, or a bunch of other good stuff over there. Go check out some of our sister shows. We got a bunch of good content over there for you. You can click on a ton of that stuff. It helps us out a ton, and it won't cost you a pretty penny unless you want to go get the show early or get some perks and goodies over on Patreon. So, Steve, we got a back-to-back software bit of news here, right? So, first up, Overwatch 2 has come to Steam. We talked about this a couple weeks back, right? That
Yeah,
Blizzard was
it's
going
now
to be
out.
bringing select games, notably so far, I think just this one, but for obvious reasons. But Overwatch 2 has had its Steam debut, and we actually got somebody in the community, Team Linux, regular writer into the show, who picked it up and had some takes for us.
Yeah, so they said I installed Overwatch 2 on the Steam Deck. I like how it doesn't use the Battle.net launcher at all. You know, just link your Steam account to your Blizzard account.
That's
In
nice.
game, it ran about as well as it did via the Battle.net launcher with Proton. Some slowdown here or there. Seems to be busy though, as I couldn't log on after one match, couldn't connect to the server again, which would be the first time that Overwatch 2 has been busy. But
That's great, right? That's good news.
I don't know, like they are being review bombed like really heavy, 93% overwhelmingly negative reviews
Wow,
at the moment. People are
wow.
not very happy about it.
Nice.
People talking about the fact that it's now free to play and like riddled with microtransactions, that there's very content light in the like 2 or 3 years that this thing's been out. And yeah, they're just not, people aren't very happy with it and saying you should just go play Team Fortress instead, which I don't think is very fair. It is the number 5 game on Steam at the moment, though, so people
Yeah,
are playing this. Even if they are leaving terrible reviews, people are checking this
their
game out.
all-time peak was, 75K, which is pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. It's not Baldur's Gate 3, but it's pretty good.
Not everything can be though, you know? It's nuts. So, man, what a bummer. What a bummer Overwatch 2 is, huh?
Yeah, it's a real shame. They should have never done it. We did not need a sequel to that game at all.
I feel like we did, but we just needed a good sequel, you know?
No, we
Like,
didn't. No, we didn't need a sequel. It just should have been a game as a service. It's Overwatch. You keep adding to it. That's like saying we need Fortnite 2. It's ridiculous. That's a stupid.
no,
It's like a
but
stupid concept to
it's
like not
different
keep
though.
adding content to this.
I think it's different though because I think Overwatch was kind of like a game between time, right? Like it came out and it probably should have always been a free to play game, but it is a $60 boxed copy experience type game. And like to keep that alive forever, just like you said, like just like as a platform, quote unquote, it doesn't really work. Like, I mean, it literally does. Look at Grand Theft Auto 5, right? Like, fair enough. But that's not really how you monetize games like that anymore. And like,
Yeah, but that's how Overwatch 2 has gone, right? It's gone down the same process.
sure,
They should have just done that with Overwatch and rebooted the
just
game
made
and
it
said
free
it's
to
now
play.
free to play, but we're gonna call it Overwatch rather than
Yeah,
Overwatch 2. It doesn't
fair,
need the Overwatch 2
fair
name.
play. Yeah, I
Could
mean,
have
and
kept all the
like,
same content in there that you had, add new modes as promised with like a PvE mode. There's constantly a new mode being added to Fortnite. That's the route they should have gone.
yeah, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, it's a bummer. That I really loved that game at the time. Yeah, at launch and just feels like they fumbled that bag so hard and I don't know if they can pick it back up at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So at the moment, as of the time of recording, there's only 29,000 people playing the game. Whereas you compare that to the other big game that came to Steam this week, Baldur's Gate 3, that is currently at 647,000 people playing it with a peak of 814,000 people playing it.
Wild. Wild, dude. Can you believe that?
Yeah, according to Matt Piscatella over at MPD Group, it accounted for 28% of total time spent on Steam on Sunday for Baldur's Gate, which is just mental. Like,
I saw
insane.
friend of the show, Tyler Olson, posted about it and was like, I think he had broken 60 hours in it already. He's like, this game came out like 3 days ago. I was like, dude, oh my God. Like
Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet. Have you?
I haven't, and like, so here's where I'm at, Steve. I have a conundrum, and I've been waiting to talk to you about this on this show because I feel like I need to work through it. I am dying to play this game. The conversation around it is like way too enticing for me. The little
Hmm.
little tiny bit I've seen of it has me like through the roof, and I've had friends recommending it to me, and like people in the community have been asking me about it. You pointed out here on Metacritic, it scored a 97, which is a point higher than Tears of the Kingdom. That's
Yeah, it's the
crazy.
best rated game this year, and one of the highest rated games of all time on Metacritic at this
And I,
point.
I just can't. Like I'm frothing at the mouth for it. But I feel really torn because I don't know that I want to play it on like I don't really want to play it on PC. Like I think it feels like it
Why?
I don't know cuz it's like I don't want to play it at my desk and it
No, by
runs.
playing it on Steam Deck.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know, like, I've heard that it runs well enough on Steam Deck, but, like, it feels like a game that, like, I don't know, like, I wanna kinda, like, have that sit and getting immersed with it on the screen thing, the big screen, and, like, I don't really wanna play it at 720 off my Steam Deck. So, but, like, part of me is has thought, like, do I just buy it now and start it on Steam Deck and then just pick it up on PlayStation later because it's cross progression? All you have to do is log it. You make a Larian account and you can just
Yeah,
play
that's
whenever.
madness considering it's buggy as hell at the moment and it will be patched by the time it comes to PS5. It's only 3 weeks, Pete. I'm sure you can wait
I
3 weeks.
know, but I wanna play it
However,
now.
when it comes to PS5, that is the week that Starfield comes out,
Right.
so you're probably not gonna play it then. I think that for me is a reason enough for me to pick it up on Steam Deck because it can be my second game when I'm not chipping away at Starfield on the TV.
I
I
know,
can be dipping into Baldur's Gate 3
I know.
on my Steam Deck, and I also think this is the perfect game for a Steam Deck. Yeah,
I think it
I
is
want to play
too.
Dungeons and Dragons handheld.
I know, and it's just like, normally I'm not that much of a graphics guy. It's like, nice, so it's like, who even care? Like, maybe it's fine, but I just feel so, like, torn about it, you know? Because like, I don't wanna buy it twice, but also I kinda wanna buy it twice.
Yeah, I mean, and they tripled in size in order to make this game. The studio. I was listening to Triple Click this week, and Jason Schreier was talking about some of the details about the development process and how they had to balloon from just over 100 people to almost 500,
Yeah.
just to make the be able to do the cinematics and stuff. They needed to hire a whole new team in order to do it, but yeah, this seemingly runs. There's a mixed bag on it, right? There's a good. I think you can get good results out of this game. There's like some articles around. I think Steam HQ's got their usual stuff on how to get this to run well. IGN did a piece on how to get it to run well. You'll probably get 40 frames per second or medium settings out of Baldur's Gate 3 on Steam Deck, and I think that's enough for me. It's absolutely fine. I don't need to have this at super duper high fidelity resolution. It's like a top-down game for the most part with
Yeah.
cinematics in between.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know.
But it's really time for me. I've got Tears of the Kingdom I'm still playing. I've got Diablo 4 I'm still playing. It's Starfield next month and Baldur's Gate 3, but I think it's really difficult for me to pass up one of the best rated games of the year.
I also just so here's the thing. I was always looking forward to this game because I was like, it really feels like it feels like a natural successor to Dragon Age Origins. It's like what I would want out of that kind of game where it's like, okay, we just are doubling down on dialogue and cutscenes and
Mhm.
unique interactions and role-playing moments and blah blah blah. Like looking at this and like the reaction that it's gotten, I have kind of like flipped my narrative a little bit personally, where I'm like, I went from being like, oh, like I worry I'm not going to play it because of Starfield. Now I'm like, I think I might like this better than Starfield. Like it's more of the type of thing I like out of a role playing game, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's Dungeons and Dragons, so
Yeah.
it's got a very it's it's got that going in its favor, right? It's got that whole system behind it. Its characters, its spells, its weapons, its classes that everyone knows that we've been playing since the 80s, and like everyone
And
knows Dungeons and Dragons.
and just that super deep level of role playing, right? Where like my friend he's like one of my best friends. He's like my roommate in college. He reached out to me and was talking to me about it. He's like, "Did you get this game yet? You need to get it." Right? Like brought up the Dragon Age Origins comparison, and he was telling me about the character he rolled and how it's like already led to all these really interesting like role playing moments. So he's playing a paladin, but he picked a character trait where he has basically like this demon has like possessed him and he gets like an insatiable bloodlust every once in a while and like he's playing this paladin who has to be a good guy and like that's like that's how you play a paladin, but he has this trait that acts against that. So like he had a situation where he was being too nice to an NPC and the demon took over and murdered them
Oh, that's really cool. I love
and
that.
just stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's like,
Well,
that's
I mean, there's
amazing.
all sorts
Like
of people you can bring to your party as well. I know there's a vampire in there if you let him
yeah.
suck on your neck, um, he gets a happy buff, and you get a bit of a debuff. But apparently, the happy buff is really good for him in battle. So if he joins your party, he'll go around, and every time he sucks blood off of any of the enemies as well, he gets the happy buff, and then he works out really well. There's so much stuff. I really can't wait to play this game.
I know. I might go download it after we are done, actually.
Okay, we'll see.
I don't know. I'm so torn, Steve. I'm so torn.
Yeah, you're like Natalie and Imbruglia. You just can't figure out what to do, can you?
No, I can't. And also, I am in the situation that you described where, like, I'm finishing off a couple games. Like,
Yeah, you got Final Fantasy in there as well, right?
I'm in the home stretch though. I think I have 10 like beats left in the story and I'm done. Like I could probably beat it in a sitting or two if I sat down and committed to it. Um and I want to, but I've just not had the chance to. And like I'm almost done with Pikmin 3 or sorry, Pikmin 4. I'm playing that as my kind of like wind down slash TV game, because I've been
Well,
so
this game would be
busy.
a perfect wind down game by the sounds of it. You could be really nice and friendly and just murder people. Great.
That's the problem with that because that on Steam Deck is dangerous too. Because like I'll play it and be like, oh, I'll just go to bed and play for another 3 hours. Like, oh, it's five
Exactly.
in the
That's why I
morning. Oh
want it on
no.
Steam Deck. That's why I want it on
Yeah,
Steam Deck. Plus,
yeah,
it's so long. I don't want to be sucking up the TV for, I but I guess I could stream it from PlayStation as well. But then it's also like if I was going to get it on one of the consoles, I'd probably want it on Xbox. It's not coming there at launch.
yeah. Also, like, part of me has thought about like the nice thing about the PlayStation. If you get the PlayStation version, you can do local co-op with it, which is cool. Maybe you can do that on PC, but like you're not
You
doing
can
that
do
on
it.
your
You
Steam
can do it
Deck.
on PC. Yeah, you
But you
can.
can't do that.
You can plug it into the TV.
Yeah, but then it's gonna look like garbage. It's at 720. It's getting blown up to 4K. Like that looks awful.
Oh man, it would look fine. Honestly, I've played a lot of Diablo 4 on my TV. You could probably eke 1080 out of it if you're happy to drop down to 30 FPS. I wonder what their split screen's going to be like on those consoles anyway. It's probably going to be 30 if they couldn't get it to run on the Series S.
Yeah,
It's
but I mean, like, that's
probably
whatever,
capped
right? Like,
at 30.
I expect it to drop down when it's split screen, you know? It's a
Yeah.
stable 30 at 4K, like, that's not the end of the
And
world.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to play it. We'll probably be talking about it next week, so I probably will end up picking it up. I've got a free weekend this weekend
Yeah,
for the first time in
I
forever.
don't have a free weekend at all,
No,
but
there's
I
no
wanna get
point.
it
There's no
anyway.
point playing it. There's no point picking it up if you don't got a free weekend because you're gonna want to chuck like 30 hours of your life away immediately.
I know, it's killing me, Steve. Oh, this fall is awful, dude. Like, it's too much. Like, I am so dreading getting to the game of the year discussion at the end of the year and having games that I am like that I know I would love that I'm not going to have played.
I know. It's really sad. I've played hardly anything this year. It's really sad.
Like I really thought I was going to be able to finish what I had started and get Star Wars done before September, and that's not happening. So now I'm like I don't think I'm going to play that game,
Which
which
is
is
okay. It's the one to drop.
no, it's not. It
Yeah, it's
sucks.
fine.
It's a bummer. It's such a bummer. I like you hate to see a game you really enjoyed get a sequel and you're like, I just don't have time for it. It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do?
they
Too
could have
many good
held on
games.
to it, released it at a different time.
They should have, frankly. So we got a bunch of questions in the question block. I'm thinking we save these for next week, Steve. What do you think?
I think we can knock off the top two.
Top
So
two?
Slim Timmy 13 said, "Will Starfield run?" It's my biggest question. No, I don't think it will. I think
I
it's
don't think
going
it
to
will either.
be way too big, and if it does, it'll be running out Chrome Experience. And then Syrian3 asked this question, and I answered it in the Discord, but I want to answer it here just in case anyone else knows. And they said, maybe this is a stupid question, but why does frame rate limit have fixed limits 40, 15, 30, 60, or off? 15, who would want to cap it this low? 30, fine for most games. 60 hardly gets there anyway. Off, in reality, same as 60, so we hardly ever get there. Personally, like it to be set at 40. I'd rather save the wattage to extend the battery life above that. So 15, I have set it at 15. I've in fact set it less than 15 when playing visual novels, and it doesn't refresh. Doesn't need to refresh any faster than 15 frames per second. Believe me, you're just reading text on a screen, and it will save out the battery. But when you set the screen refresh rate, and I don't know if people realize that these are two different toggles. The refresh rate of the screen goes from anywhere from 40 to 60. If you set it at 40 or set it anywhere in between, it will change those. They are divisions of the maximum. So it's 60, then half of 60 is 30, then half of 30 is 15. So if you set it to 40, you get 40, 20, and 10. So if you just set the screen refresh rate to 40 and then it will knock it all the way up to the top, and then you'll be capped at 40 frames per second.
There you go. So we're saving this last one.
Yeah, we'll save the last one.
We'll save the last one. All right, Green Beanie, we got your question. We're gonna save it for next week. Okay, tune in. So, thank you all for joining us here in another episode of the Steam Deck Podcast. If you want to write in and let us know your thoughts on buying a refurbished Steam Deck, picking up the insane amount of stuff you would need to get your Steam Deck expanded to 32 gigs of RAM, or your experiences with Overwatch 2 or Baldur's Gate 3, make sure you hit us up, questions at flipscreen.games, or come and join our Discord and keep this conversation rolling until next week's show. Remember, if you want to find links to all that and much more, you can head to flipscreen.games. That's our website where you will find our Patreon, our sister shows, all the stuff you might need from us. Guess what? You'll find a link for it right then and there. Go and check it out. Go click on some stuff. It helps us out a ton, and it doesn't cost you a pretty penny unless you want to go and snag those perks and goodies from Patreon, which of course we'd greatly appreciate. Best way to support the show. Keep those mics and lights hot. So, for the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Steve. We'll see you next week, baby.